You won't believe what happened at Garrison's funeral. A moment of healing turned into something that nobody anticipated. Emotions ran high, lines were crossed, and the hurt of a broken family surfaced in the most tragic manner. Was it ego, love, or perhaps something even deeper that drove them apart? Watch now and find out what actually went down behind the scenes. You ever just sit back and wonder, how did a family end up here? I mean, really end up here. To the place where the agony is clearer than the love, and the quiet between individuals who used to have everything together is unbearable. There's something tragic about seeing a family disintegrate in real time, particularly when it's one you've grown to know over years. You recognize their faces, their narratives, their kids aging on television, but behind the facade of common meals and plural identity, something further was festering. And now, it's all but imploded. This isn't another soap opera twist on a reality TV show. This is about mourning, unresolved, raw mourning. It's about a funeral that had the potential to bring everyone together, but instead pushed them all further apart. It's about appearing where you weren't invited, about dismissing someone's dying wishes, and then later retelling the tale in order to save face. If you've ever lived in a complicated family situation, been there yourself, or watched one from the sidelines, you know how these things go down. It's not typically about some single explosive moment. It's the gradual drip of disillusion, the unsaid things, the selective histories, the tension that occupies a room even when nobody says anything. And for the Brown family, the burden of all that suppressed hurt came crashing down at Garrison's funeral. A spiritual, grieving time when everyone should have been concentrating on healing was the ultimate breaking point. And at the root of it all, Kody and Robyn. And what they did, not just on that day, but in the years leading up to it. Now, I am not here to demonize anyone. Life is complicated. Grief is more complicated. And none of us really knows exactly how we're going to be present when it matters most, until we're at the grave of someone that we once had in our arms. But I do say this, there's a difference between being a father and pretending to be one. There's a difference between love and acting. And there's a price when people begin to mix the two up. So let me ask you this. What do you do when the family you've created no longer recognizes the man at the head of the table? What do you do when the people you love the most begin to feel like strangers? And more importantly, when you've been offered so many opportunities to be present, but consistently choose yourself instead, how many more chances are you owed? That's what we're unpacking today. Because under the headlines and the sound bites, there's a story that must be told, not so much about Kody or Robyn or Christine or Janelle, but about what occurs when the truth finally catches up and the individuals who've been quiet for so long start to speak. Let's dive in. Hey buddies, let's dive in. So, as Kody tells it, he and Robyn were pretty much pushed out of the family. Why? Because they displayed too much affection in front of Janelle and Mary, and that clearly didn't sit very well with people. Now, I couldn't help but wonder, when were all of them ever in one place to do what was described to us? I mean, seriously, when was the last time they were even in the same room long enough for PDA to become an issue? And then it hit me. Could it have been at Garrison's funeral? There was this moment where Kody had his hand resting on Robyn's leg. Yeah, that kind of moment. It felt off considering the setting, a bit too familiar during a time of grief. Now let's discuss PDA for a second. As the years went by, one thing became clear as day. Public displays of affection just don't cut it with this family, particularly not with the wives. If something wasn't going well between them and Kody, the last thing they wanted to witness was him getting physically close to another wife right in front of them. Completely understandable, huh? And meanwhile, the whole of this unfolding, all I could think was, Suki, ask the hard question here. If this is a lifestyle in which everyone allegedly consents to sharing one husband, why is it so difficult to see a little love between him and another wife? If it's really a loving, consensual relationship, shouldn't a kiss or a handhold just be part of the bargain? But the thing is, I don't believe it ever actually was consensual, in the sense we imagine. These marriages weren't about everyone eagerly scribbling their signature on the dotted line. They were based on obligation, on deeply held convictions that tell us a woman must marry a man with multiple wives if she hopes to be rewarded in the afterlife. That her primary responsibility is to pull spirit babies down from the heavens, give birth to them, and assist in the construction of her husband's kingdom. It's not romance or partnership, it's obligation. And when that's the underpinning, it no longer feels like a decision and begins to feel like manipulation. Threats even. And that's the actual issue. Let's dig in. So then, by Kody's account, he and Robyn were sort of driven out of the family. Why? Because they were a little too demonstrative with each other in front of Janelle and Mary. And that clearly didn't sit right with anyone. Now, I couldn't help but wonder when exactly they were all gathered in the same place. I mean, come on. When was the last time they were even in the same room together long enough for PDA to be a problem? And then it struck me. Could it have been during Garrison's funeral? There was this one time when Kody had his hand placed on Robyn's leg. Yeah, that type of moment. It felt wrong, given the situation, a bit too close for comfort in a moment of mourning. Now, let's discuss PDA for a minute. Throughout the years, one thing's become absolutely clear. Public displays of affection just don't work here in this family, especially not with the wives. If things weren't going well between them and Kody, the last thing they wanted to witness was him being touchy-feely with another wife right in front of them. Completely understandable, right? And meanwhile, everything going on, I was constantly thinking, Suki, pose the question here. If this is a lifestyle where everyone allegedly consents to sharing one husband, how come it's so difficult to see a little affection between him and another wife? If it's really a loving, consensual situation, shouldn't a kiss or a handhold just be part of the bargain? But here's the thing. I don't believe it ever was really consensual in the sense that we understand. These marriages were not so much about everyone signing on the dotted line willingly. They were based on duty, on deeply ingrained thought that a woman must marry a man who had more than one wife if she hoped to have a chance at the afterlife. That her primary work is to get the spirit babies from heaven and bring them down, raise them, and assist in building the kingdom of her husband. It's not romance or partnership, it's responsibility. And when that's the foundation, it ceases to be a choice and begins feeling like manipulation, even coercion. And that's the actual issue. And truthfully, until these women are entirely free of Kody and not bound by a TV deal or concerned about how what they say will impact the ratings of the show, we likely won't hear the whole truth. Not actually. Because so long as Kody can say whatever he chooses, and they must dance around that, there's no actual space for openness. Now, let's discuss the entire PDA thing, public displays of affection. This is one of those subjects where everybody in the family has their own justification for whether it was or wasn't acceptable. And that's understandable. People are different about this type of thing. But here's where it gets interesting. Christine and David, her new husband, they're obviously not afraid to be demonstrative. They kiss, they hug. It's very comfortable with them. But not everybody on the show enjoys watching it, apparently. The kids, for example, weren't accustomed to observing their parents being affectionate when they were young. So observing Christine kiss David openly felt awkward, and understandably so. If your entire childhood consisted of no touching, watching mom go hog wild trying to catch up might be a little disorienting. And then there was Mary's comment. She just said that watching Kody and Robyn kiss still irks her. That it seems like they're doing it just to rub it in her face. I wasn't expecting that. I found myself thinking, when exactly would she have seen that? I mean, aside from a few holiday visits and that awful moment at Garrison's funeral, when has she actually been around them? From what we've witnessed, Kody and Robyn haven't exactly been all over each other in front of Mary. Actually, when Mary went over to visit them at Christmas and then informed them that she was moving on, they hardly touched. So if Mary is getting the impression that their affection is specifically aimed in her direction, I just can't help but ask, is it about the kissing? Or is something deeper going on? Perhaps it is still too fresh for her. Perhaps there is still some lingering hurt from the divorce and all of those years of being relegated to the bench. And you know what? That would be totally understandable. Relinquishing that sort of emotional baggage is difficult, particularly when you've shared 3 decades and an entire life story with someone. Meanwhile, however, if Mary did walk away, and really it was something she chose to do, then isn't that also somehow leaving behind all of that? Including the things that hurt? If Kody and Robyn are now married and demonstrating affection, then they're basically just doing what couples do. It may not please Mary, but isn't that precisely what she walked away from? Still, it's tough to know what's really going on beneath the surface. Maybe after years of being told to hide his affection, Kody is now swinging the other way, putting it all on display, almost defiantly. And if that's true, then maybe, just maybe, Mary's not imagining it. Because in a family like this, where emotions have run high for decades, nothing is ever simple, not even a kiss. I can totally see Kody acting that way, bending over backward to prove a point, particularly if he felt like he had the right partner finally in Robyn. But let's turn it around for a minute and consider Robyn's point of view. She moved into a family with an established dynamic, and sure, it had its own culture, one already complicated and emotionally charged. To step into that as the new wife and notice it was strange that no one gives affection or spends quality one-on-one time with their husband? Absolutely, I understand. It must have seemed peculiar to her. But the thing is, when she consented to joining the family, it was expected that she would fit into the family, not remake it. Actually, Robyn herself explained to Suki in an interview that the other wives essentially said, "You need to get in line. This is how we do things." And to be honest, they were right. She wasn't coming in on a tabula rasa. This was an operational, if fragile family with a certain operating procedure in place. They didn't marry Robyn so she could come in and start rewriting the playbook. She was supposed to get integrated into the life they already had. And in this type of polygamist arrangement, no wife is ever supposed to have greater authority or more privileges than the rest. Robyn went into this aware she would not initially be Kody's legal wife, that she would not be vested with legal standing or privileges. Her function, under that belief system, was really to be another wife assisting Kody towards celestial goals. It sounds cold, but that's the underlying doctrine. So when Robyn arrived and went right on rocking the boat, not compromising, not fitting in, but rather pushing for greater control, it's not surprising that tensions boiled over. She seemed to be looking for a different type of marriage, one with more exclusivity and structure. And honestly, that need for control could have been a major reason why the family began to fracture. Now, I'm not going to say that the other women were saints or that everything was hunky-dory prior to Robyn, but criticizing them for not embracing the disruption that she brought does not sit well with me either. If you join something and then seek to alter all the rules the minute you set foot in the place, you have to anticipate some pushback. And it's not like Robyn just slid in. From the very start, she started getting behind the scenes, keeping secrets, coordinating more time with Kody before they were even married, jetting off for the weekends without the family. That 4th day, she demanded of them, before she was even technically a wife, that was not on the table. It was at the expense of the other wives and the equilibrium they were attempting to find. In a nutshell, Robyn didn't fit into the culture that much. She was attempting to bend the family to her version of what it ought to be. And from my perspective, that's not somebody who's simply a victim of circumstance. That's somebody who desired something other than what she had and began reauthoring the script before the ink was even dry on her introduction. Here's how it looks to me. And I realize this may sound harsh, But Kody's actions are very much in line with what we tend to classify as narcissistic tendencies. He deflects. Rather than own up, he rewrites the story to cast himself as victim. Take this most recent claim, for example. Kody just recently remarked something to the effect of, "The last time Robyn and I publicly displayed affection in front of the family, we got kicked out." Now, let's actually think about that for a second. When was the last time that the whole family was all together? That would have been both the private funeral and the National Guard memorial service in Las Vegas for Garrison. From what we heard and saw of it, Kody wasn't going out of his way to hold his kids. He wasn't hugging them or showing them support. He wasn't bonding. Instead, he was holding on to Robyn, literally and emotionally. Arm around her, leg brushing against her, totally engrossed in her. Even at one point, his son Logan attempted to assist him, extending a hand as Kody moved aside from burying Garrison's urn in the ground, and Kody brushed him aside. That is a telling moment, as minute as it is. It refers to estrangement, to bridges not being built, but walls instead. And while TLC did not broadcast National Guard memorial footage, blessedly, it was well reported nonetheless that Kody and Robyn had been asked not to go, not to come, and still they came. Not only that, but they are said to have brought the cameras with them, taking a private family tragedy and making it into whatever reality viewers thought it should be. So if that's the entire context, is it really believable that later Kody would state, "We got kicked out because of PDA"? No, really. That looks like a convenient dismissal, a gentler, more acceptable explanation than the harsh reality. The family did not want them there due to the way they act, not what they were doing. And perhaps, it's only a perhaps, but perhaps the actual problem wasn't PDA in the first place. Perhaps it was that Kody and Robyn's presence and their attitude and their inability to be empathetic in such a visceral, hurting moment constituted a betrayal. Perhaps it wasn't affection that got them kicked out, but arrogance, or emotional absence, or not being able to show up for their kids in the way those kids so desperately needed. If you're showing up to a funeral where your child is being laid to rest, and your main concern is how the moment plays on TV, not how your kids are holding up, you can't be surprised when those same kids start pulling away. And then to turn around and say, well, they were mad about PDA, that's not just a deflection. It's rewriting the story entirely. Because this wasn't about love, it was about connection. And that's where Kody fell short, heartbreakingly so. And this is where the hurt really gets deeper, because it's not merely about Kody and Robyn showing up. It's about how and why they showed up, and what they opted to turn a blind eye to when they did. Garrison expressed his desires. He didn't want Kody there, his closest friends insisted. He didn't want Robyn there either. And consider this for a moment. A son, at the end of his life, felt so unheard, so forsaken, so hurt that he didn't want his own dad at his funeral. That's tragic. But still, despite all that, Kody arrived, and he came with Robyn. Now, certainly, he's the biological father, and technically speaking, perhaps no one could prevent him from coming. But being permitted to come isn't the same as being welcomed. And when someone, particularly a bereaved family, draws a line, albeit an uncomfortable one, to stand firm behind, that line carries weight. It's not merely polite to uphold it, it's a choice of love, of humility, of responsibility. But Kody did not respect them. He disobeyed them. And instead of accepting that decision and its ramifications, he's distorted it. He's turned it into a tale in which he's the victim, shunned by a family who, in his own mind, simply couldn't handle the reality that he loves Robyn, that they're jealous of his relationship, that they can't stomach watching him be affectionate. Seriously? That's not only dishonest, it's emotionally manipulative. Because this wasn't about displays of affection in public. This was about a son who had been mourning long before he had died, a son who had felt abandoned and overlooked, a family shattered through years of missteps, discrimination, and shattered trust. And not lost on anyone is the fact that Kody's account is vague. He mentions, the last time we showed affection, we were kicked out, like it's been some ongoing problem. But for crying out loud, we all know that's not true. The last time was at the funeral, the most inopportune time imaginable to focus yourself, to show romantic closeness, to overlook the fresh sorrow of your other children. And for some of those children, that was the last straw. They've told us as much. There's no return from what went down at Garrison's funeral. The way Kody and Robyn behaved, their failure to respect emotional boundaries, their refusal to listen, their tone deafness, tore the last weak strands sustaining those relationships. But Kody can't bear that, so he restates. He says to himself and to us that the family was simply jealous, that Christine still has a thing for Robyn, she doesn't. That Janelle and Mary are so crazy they can't stand the thought of seeing him happy. He actually says he'll never be touchy-feely with Robyn when they're around until they remarry. And I mean, what is that supposed to mean? It makes no sense at all. It's just more word salad to avoid saying the one thing that matters. I hurt them, and they're angry, and I'm the reason why. But Kody doesn't do accountability. He does deflection, and in doing so, he erases the very real pain of the children he hurt, and the memory of the son who asked him not to come. No, Kody, they did not kick you out for some innocent show of affection. They pulled away because you were not welcome there, because you did not listen, because you did not respect their boundaries or their loss, and you reduced one of the most holy, difficult moments in your family's life into a story about you. And perhaps that's what hurts the most, for all of us, that rather than coming in humble and empathetic, you came in with ego. And now you're revising history to save your own delicate ego. But that's my opinion. That's my intuition, my educated guess, based on all we've witnessed transpire. So what do you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. This is certainly a discussion worth having. And if you found this video helpful, thought-provoking, or just need somewhere to vent all this emotional mess, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And click that little bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.